Wait a second, quick question. Have you ever walked into Dollarama thinking you'd spend just a couple of dollars and somehow ended up at the checkout with a basket full of random things you didn't plan to buy? A snack here, a charger there, maybe some cleaning wipes, a notebook, and something you grabbed just because it felt cheap. And when the total shows up, it doesn't even feel that bad. But here's the part almost no one stops to think about. Did you actually save money, or did it just feel like you did? Because there's a hidden side to shopping at Dollarama that most Canadians completely overlook. And once you notice it, you won't shop the same way again. Dollarama isn't just a small discount store anymore. It's one of the largest retail chains in Canada, with thousands of products moving through its shelves every single day. For millions of Canadians, it's become the go-to place for everyday essentials, especially with rising prices everywhere else. And that's exactly why this matters. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually questioned what you were putting in that basket? Do you really check the value, or do you trust the price tag without thinking twice? Because that quick trip you think is saving you money might be doing the opposite, and most people don't realize it until it's too late. Here's the reality most shoppers never hear. Just because a store feels affordable doesn't mean everything inside is a good deal. In fact, some of the smartest marketing tricks are designed to make you spend more without noticing. Have you ever gone in for one item and walked out with 5 you didn't plan? That's not random. That's intentional. And this is where things start to change. Once you understand how these stores are designed to influence your decisions, you begin to see patterns that were invisible before. The layout, the pricing, even the product sizes all play a role. So before your next visit, you might want to look at things a little differently. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 things you need to know before shopping at Dollarama in Canada. Not to tell you to stop going there, but to help you avoid the mistakes that quietly drain your money. Because some deals inside that store are incredible, but others, not so much. Let's start with something most people don't even realize is happening. 1. Price illusion. One of the biggest misconceptions about Dollarama is right in the name. Most people still associate it with everything is cheap. But if you actually look around today, prices are no longer just $1. Items now range across multiple price points, and yet your brain still treats everything like a bargain. That's the trick. Because once your mind labels a store as cheap, it stops questioning the value. But think about this for a second. When you see something for $2 or $3, do you pause and compare it? Or do you instantly assume it's a good deal? How often do you check the size, the quantity, or what you're really getting for that price? Most people don't, and that's exactly where the mistake begins. The price feels low, so your guard drops without you even noticing. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Your brain isn't reacting to the product, it's reacting to the store's reputation. You're not thinking, is this worth it? You're thinking, it's Dollarama, so it must be worth it. That small shift in thinking changes every decision you make inside the store. And it happens automatically, without effort. Now imagine this. If the exact same item was placed in a regular grocery store at the same price, would you still buy it? Or would you suddenly start comparing, questioning, maybe even putting it back? That's the moment most people never reach inside Dollarama. And that's exactly why this illusion works so well. 2. Price per unit. And this is where things get interesting. A smaller package at a lower price can feel like a win, but when you compare the cost per gram or per item, the math doesn't always work in your favor. In some cases, you're actually paying more, just for less product. But most shoppers never stop to calculate that. Let me ask you something. When you grab a small box for $2, does it feel cheaper than a full-size one for $5? Or do you ever stop and think about how much you're really getting inside? Because that quick decision, made in seconds, can quietly cost you more over time. And almost no one notices it happening. Here's the hidden part. Stores don't need to lower prices if they can lower the quantity. Your eyes see the price tag, but your brain ignores the size difference. So instead of saving money, you're just buying less without realizing it. And that's exactly how the illusion keeps working. Now, think about your last visit. How many times did you choose the cheaper-looking option without comparing anything else? What if that deal was actually the more expensive choice in the long run? This is the moment where smart shoppers separate themselves from everyone else. Because once you start checking the real value, everything inside the store starts to look different. 3. Hidden shrinkflation. Now add something else into the mix. You'll often find familiar brands on Dollarama shelves. Same logos, similar packaging. But look closer, and you'll notice something subtle. The size is different, sometimes significantly smaller. This creates the illusion that you're getting a deal, when in reality, you're just getting a reduced version of the product. But let me ask you this. Have you ever picked something up because it looked exactly like the one from the grocery store? Did you assume it was the same product, just cheaper? Most people do without even thinking twice. And that's where this strategy becomes so effective. Because your brain recognizes the brand before it questions the details. You see the colors, the logo, the shape, and you feel confident. But that confidence is based on familiarity, not actual value. And in that moment, the decision is already made. Now imagine comparing both side by side. One is slightly bigger, costs a bit more, but lasts longer. The other feels cheaper, but runs out faster than expected. Which one really saves you money in the end? That's the question most shoppers never stop to ask. 4. Quality and durability. And then there's another hidden cost most people ignore. Durability. Think about how often you've bought something cheap only to replace it days later. From batteries to kitchen tools, some items simply don't last as long. And when you have to buy them again and again, the cheap price starts adding up. But let me ask you this. How many times have you said, "It's only a couple dollars, I'll just get another one"? How often does that small decision repeat itself without you even noticing? Because those quick replacements don't feel expensive in the moment. But over time, they quietly stack up. Here's what most people miss. A product that lasts 1 week instead of 1 month is not cheaper. It just feels cheaper at the register. In reality, you're paying again and again for the same function. And that cycle is where the real cost hides. Now think about your last few purchases. Did they last as long as you expected? Or did they fail sooner than you hoped? What if spending a little more once could save you from buying the same item 3 times? This is where smart shopping really begins. Not at the price tag, but at how long that product actually serves you. By the way, if you like content that helps you save money and shop smarter here in Canada, take a second to subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who shops at Dollarama all the time. You'd be surprised how many people need to see this. 5. Awareness and smart choices. There's also been increasing attention around product sourcing and materials in discount retail. With so many suppliers and fast inventory turnover, it becomes harder for shoppers to really know what they're buying. That doesn't mean everything is unsafe, but it does mean being a more conscious shopper matters more than ever. But let me ask you something. When you pick up an item, do you ever stop and wonder where it came from, how it was made, or what it's made of? Or do you trust it automatically because it's sitting on the shelf? Most people never think about it. And that's where awareness starts to make a difference. Not everything needs to be questioned, but some things should. Taking a second to read a label, check the packaging, or simply pause before buying can completely change the choices you make inside the store. And those small pauses add up over time. Now imagine shopping with that mindset. Instead of reacting to low prices, you start making intentional decisions. You become more selective, more aware, and harder to influence. And once that shift happens, you're no longer just shopping. You're actually in control of where your money goes. Now, to be fair, not everything at Dollarama is a bad deal. In fact, some categories are genuinely worth it. Party supplies, seasonal items, and certain basic products can offer real value, especially when you don't need long-term durability. The key isn't avoiding the store. It's knowing where the real deals are. But let me ask you this. Do you walk in with a plan, or do you decide as you go? Because the difference between saving money and wasting it often comes down to that one thing. Going in without a clear idea makes it easier to fall into every trap we just talked about. And that's exactly how small purchases turn into bigger totals. Here's what smart shoppers do differently. They already know what categories make sense before they even enter the store. They don't rely on what feels cheap in the moment. They focus on items where price matters more than durability. And they avoid the ones that cost more over time. Now imagine walking through the aisles with that mindset. You're not reacting to every price tag anymore. You're choosing with intention, skipping what doesn't make sense. And suddenly, the same store that traps most people starts working in your favor instead. Because once you understand how these pricing tricks, product sizes, and quality differences work together, you start seeing the store in a completely different way. Next time you walk into Dollarama, don't just look at the price tag. Look at the size. Think about how long it will last. And most importantly, ask yourself if it's actually saving you money or just making you feel like you are. But pause for a second before you grab that next item. Do you really need it, or is it just there because it feels like a deal? How many things in your cart right now were planned before you walked in? And how many were decided in the moment without thinking twice? That's where the real difference happens. Because the smartest shoppers don't just react, they decide. They slow down, they compare, and they question what others ignore. They understand that saving money isn't about spending less in the moment. It's about spending right over time. And that mindset changes everything. So the next time you step into Dollarama, remember this. You're not just shopping. You're making decisions that add up over weeks and months. Every item, every choice, every quick grab has an impact. And once you start seeing it that way, you'll never shop the same again.